Today I messed up by assuming the stain in my bed was blood. We'd had 2 weeks of brutal nights. Our 5-year-old is going through a rough phase and he's often up for much of the night, so we are, too. I'm exhausted. The other day, when going back to sleep, I noticed a perfect square-shaped red patch on my side of the bed. It was about a 3 inches by 3 inches square, somewhat dappled. It looked a lot like blood. It's surely my wife's period blood, I think to myself. No biggie, I'm not squeamish about things like that. Or maybe I've been bleeding from my foot or something. After all, my feet are pretty gross. So I forget about it for a couple of days. Eventually I ask my wife what the deal is and she explains, to my horror, that she was eating leftovers in our room the other day and set the Tupperware container down on my side of the bed. When she lifted it up, its bottom left the red stain behind, meaning it could only have come from juices of the untold horrors lurking on the shelf of our fridge. I'm talking nasty old salami juices. Meat juices leaking out of their packaging. Old apricots turning to mush. Ancient pizza. Forgotten cheeses. Spilled leftover cocktails. Porridge. Maple syrup slipping the surly bonds of its jar. Leftovers from months ago. Liquefaction and putrefaction competing for supremacy. And she just set the marinated Tupperware down on my portion of the bed. And I slept in it for several nights. Clearly she's a monster. I called her out as such and she was like, "Why did you even think it was period blood? You think I have a square pussy?" But still. Frankly, I'm surprised she didn't just leave the Tupperware in the bed. So, yeah, not a great week. Today I messed up by making my husband's dog love me. I, 25F, have a bit of an awkward, yet hilarious problem. This has been an ongoing thing but happened again last night, so why not talk about it here to random strangers on the internet? My husband and I have a dog, but he had her before we got together. Most dogs warm up to me fairly quickly, but this dog, who I'm gonna call Pinky because she has a very unique name for a dog, she's named after a Pokemon, and I don't want anyone to know me to put 2 and 2 together, took quite a while to warm up to me. My husband explained that it was likely because his ex-wife was very negligent and cold towards her. One way that I won Pinky over was by sharing food with her. I obviously am wary to only give her food that wasn't toxic to dogs. She never has anything that is garlic, onions, or stuff like that in it. For a while, she didn't seem to care too much about me. It wasn't until I was in the hospital for a week and came back home that Pinky seemed to realize that she loved me, because I was all she wanted for the first few days after I came home. But then, after about 2 years of me and my husband being together, just before we got engaged, something very strange, yet hilarious started happening. See, we live with my mother-in-law because I'm still in college and we can't afford to rent our own place at the moment. Pinky has to stay in our room at night because if she's left out, she'll cry, and my mill will get upset. That means that poor Pinky is always in the room whenever my husband and I are being intimate. We bought her a dog bed specifically so she's at least not on the same bed when we're busy, and that helps ease the awkwardness. Pinky sleeps with us in our bed, right in between us like she's a co-sleeping toddler. I always make jokes that she is a co-sleeping toddler. At first, Pinky would just kind of hide under the blankets and pretend nothing happened, but right around the time that my husband and I got engaged, she started coming to check on me while my husband goes to clean up. I'm not exactly quiet by any means, and apparently, she finds the noises I make concerning because she always wants to cuddle up with me, give me hugs, and make sure that I'm okay. Except, yeah, not the time to do that when I'm riding on a post-coital high and bare-ass naked. It happens every time. I'm teaching Pinky to not approach me until I at least have my clothes back on, but she genuinely doesn't understand. She was spayed when she was a puppy, before she had her first heat, and I think that has something to do with it. After things have settled down, we always have a good laugh about it, but in the moment, it's horrifying. I don't want to cuddle with my dog after having sex with my husband and still naked, that's weird. Anyway, yeah. It'll take some time for her to learn to not do this, but for now, it's just a funny thing that happens. Today I messed up by not realizing the detergent I had been using for weeks is a fabric conditioner and not actual detergent and getting an interesting comment during a first date. One time I was shopping and realized I was out of detergent and need to buy some. I just see Downy in my peripherals and I grab it assuming it's detergent. Damn, was I wrong. I used it for many weeks and my clothes always smelled decent after the wash, so nothing really caught my eye. Until yesterday I went out on a date with a girl I met on Hinge, and when I gave her a hug hello she said, "Did you just come from the gym?" I said no. Nothing else happened after that, but I kept wondering why she asked that. When the date was over I smelled my shirt and said, "OMFG, I smell like actual ass." I was so confused since I just washed that shirt, although I should note it has been over 90 degrees for the past week where I live, so I've been sweating a lot. Anyway, I get home feeling super embarrassed and check my other clothes by smelling them and they all smell terrible. That caused me to check the detergent and yep, I'm an idiot. The date actually went well and we had a great time, so I message her asking if she wants to meet up again. I thought maybe she would overlook my smelliness since we had such a good time. She responded with, "I don't think we had a connection, Lamau." Today I messed up by saying hi to my neighbor's friend. So, I moved to a small town where everyone knows everyone, and hang out at the local bar. My next door neighbor is warm and welcoming, which makes this even worse. I got home from work late one day, and as I reached the top of the stairs, a naked guy was standing in her doorway. He was apparently waiting for her to come home and thought that I was her. When he saw his mistake, he slammed the door. Later I met my neighbor at the local bar, hanging out with a big group of friends. I saw the naked guy among them, so I decided to say hi. I wanted to goof about the awkward meet and said, "Hi, nice to see you again," with more clothes on, no worries about the situation. The group got real quiet, and another guy stared at me. I walked out of the situation knowing that I'd said something wrong. Now I know. My neighbor's boyfriend was the guy staring, the naked man was her lover. I will never ever goof again with people I don't know. Today I messed up by spending $250 for an 8 ounces soda. I made pork chops for dinner, took a bit too large of a bite and apparently didn't chew enough, ended up getting stuck in my throat. I tried, Heimlich, drinking water, trying to force myself to vomit for over an hour. In the meantime my GF was googling for things to try and told me drink a soda. It says the carbonation will help loosen up the food for you to swallow. I told her that if water won't work, why would soda, and didn't try. So after an hour of trying everything, except drinking soda, we went to the emergency room. It was starting to get bad. I vomited in the waiting room and the pork chop was still stuck. They immediately called me back and put me in a room. After a few minutes, the doctor comes in and I explain the issue. Doctor says, "Well, first thing we're going to do is get you a soda because sometimes the carbonation will loosen the food and allow it to go down." Not kidding, word for word what my GF had said over an hour before. I got a sheepish look on my face and looked over at my GF, who I could tell was holding back an "I told you so hard." Needless to say, a nurse came in a few minutes later with one of those little 8 ounces cans of generic soda. One drink and I can feel the food loosen up and go down to my stomach. I'm now all good and I pay the $250 emergency room fee and we leave. I apologize to GF for not listening to her on the way home, and that's the story of the time I spent $250 for an 8 ounces can of soda. Moral of the story, trust your partner. It will save you in the long run.